Rodafleming in the Philippines here. How are you all doing? I've seen a few videos from others lately, just in the last few days, that talk about a backlash against LGBTQ, and this seems to have come as a result of some fairly over-the-top gay pride parades. Now, I'm not really concerned about gay pride parades or what happens. That's not my scene, it's not part of me. I'm concerned about HSTS trans women, however you see them. And I want to just make a few points here. I have for a long time felt that there would be a backlash against LGBTQ. I think that over the last few years we've seen things get really out of hand, and what you have to understand is that what the radicals and the extremists are calling stereotypical behaviour, stereotypical genders, the oppression of the gender binary and all that sort of stuff is complete nonsense. That's how society is meant to work. That's how humans are evolved to live together. And that is within societies which are gendered, and where gendered behaviour is normal, and we have accepted roles. Gender is not, absolutely not, a construct. Quite agree. There are many things that are gender specific which are a construct, but at the end of the day, that's things like which side you button up your shirt, or whether you wear trousers. These are constructed, yes, but the actual nature of gender itself is no, it's innate. Gender is how we advertise our sexuality to other people. We can't get rid of it. There's no way of getting rid of it. And why would it be desirable to get rid of it anyway? This is all a fantasy that comes from the radical feminist movement that appeared first in the late 60s, early 70s, and it's all part of a very similar transgressive political movement. When I say transgressive, I basically mean left-wing. These people want to destroy the society we live in and replace it with something else. And what they actually mean is a communist dystopian future in which the collective hive mind has total control over everything. It decides what you're allowed to think. It decides which of your thoughts are actually allowed to be communicated to other people, which is incredible. And it decides basically eventually everything that you will be allowed to do. It's 1984 and Brave New World all wrapped together. And it's the cutting edge of it. The point at which it can really be seen is in this LGBTQ thing. And there does appear to be something of a backlash. People have begun to get just a little bit fed up of it, of being told that being normal is not normal. So I'm concerned for HSTS. I don't believe that, just let me recap. Homosexual transsexuals, or true transsexuals, are people who have sexual inversion. If they're male, they have female sexuality. They present in a feminine gender because if there's a mismatch between your sexuality and gender presentation, you experience gender dysphoria. They act, look, behave, and in every way are women, except they were born male. Now, in the West, these people, HSTS or true transsexuals, have never been part of the LGBT scene, and they've had hellish trouble. The new gay man, which is a pederastic homosexual system, male homosexual system, that was invented during the 1950s, has constantly hated them because they see HSTS as betraying this transgressive political agenda, which the new gay man definitely does follow. And I think you just have to look at what goes on at Western gay pride parades and how deliberately shocking they are, and then look at what happens in Asian gay pride parades, which are family fun events, really, to see that there is a big difference here. This is the Philippines. The gay life, if you like, in the Philippines is called kabaklaan, right? From bakla, which is the general term for a gay, right? It's not quite the same, but it's similar enough that we can use it, So kabaklaan is socially conservative and inclusive. It does not seek to set baklas apart from society, but to integrate them into it. And it definitely does not want to change society. Most backlashes are very conservative. Most of them are vote right-wing. Most of them are very happy with the arrangements, social arrangements that exist. They don't want to see them changed. It couldn't be more different from the West. In the West, LGBT or LGBTQ, LGBT, alphabet, call it what you like, has become the cutting edge of this, as I say, transgressive political movement. It's the obvious one, because they are obvious and they can't get around that. So what recent surveys have suggested, and there have been a number, is that there's increasing resistance to this projection of transgressive political ideals onto mainstream society. And my concern is that HSTS true transsexuals don't get affected by this. In the West, the traditional life path for an HSTS or true transsexual was to transition, very often fully surgically, and then woodwork. Woodworking means they would vanish into the woodwork. They would just move town, be women, and not tell anybody about their background. And in many countries, has been made easier by the law, which protects their background. It becomes sealed, and you can't reveal it. And so they have lived in this other world, in which they fear being outed by gays. Right? That's the funny thing. They fear being outed by gays, because gays will do that. Since the 1970s, that's been one of the big political tools of the new gay man was to out people whom they thought were gay, but who not necessarily were. So my point here is to try to say to those people who are HSTS, true transsexual, that it may be time that you considered your disguise a little bit. If a backlash actually becomes more serious, then you are the most vulnerable group. Because remember, HSTS are already hated by the so-called LGBT, the new gay man, and all these transgressive political movements which call themselves gay. But they're also completely misunderstood by the broader society. Very few people in society understand the notion of sexual inversion, largely because the new gay man has done his best to try and discredit this idea. There's never been any scientific disproof of this theory, and in fact there have been many studies which strongly support it, and I've done previous videos about this. We can do it again if you want. But we know that it's a real thing, and that it's innate. You can't not have it, you can't cure it. If you're sexually inverted, then you're going to want to appear, it's an etiology, it comes in a scale of severity. So if you're at the moderate to severe end, then you're going to want to appear to be a woman if you were born male, and vice versa if you were born female. And these people, as I say, they're absolutely hated by the new gay man, LGBT, alphabet political movements, because those movements regard them as traitors. They won't go out and start offending people in the name of political change. At the same time, the mainstream society really doesn't understand them. And society is suspicious of that which it doesn't understand. HSTS are completely harmless, whether they are male to feminine or female to masculine. But the last thing that, for example, male to feminine would want to do would be to be confused with autogynephilic transvestites who invade women's spaces, who pursue women, who are sexual predators, both on women and on HSTS. HSTS don't want to be even associated with them. And in most cases, an HSTS is unrecognizable. Everybody just thinks she's a woman. So they're really at risk from being outed or from being associated with this LGBT alphabet movement. And we set up a site a while ago, I've still got some work to do it, called allaboutHSTS.com. If you're HSTS, go there. If you think you might be HSTS, go there and have a look at what we've got to say. Remember, an HSTS will have started cross-sex identification, cross-gender identification, possibly as early as 2 years old. And this will be very consistent, it will be persistent. she will have had, if it's born a male, she will have had significant gender dysphoria, a real resistance to having to do boy things or wear boy clothes. For example, my girlfriend Sam, who is HSTS, she tells of her absolute horror when she first started preparatory school, maternelle, what would you call it, kindergarten. And her father cut off all her hair, and gave her a cut like I've got. And she was horrified, mortified, and she's 27 now, and that experience still gives her nightmares. So these people at really young ages are already so cross-gendered and identified that interfering with that causes real problems. And at the same time, they will be very strongly same-sex attracted. They want a man. If they're male, they want a man, a conventional masculine man. If they're female, they might look a bit like butch lesbians or a bit even more masculine, but the fact is they'll want a conventional feminine woman. The new gay man idea, the Western LGBT idea, LGB really idea of like goes with like, it doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. It's uniquely a Western concept. The West here is a complete outlier. It's the West that's aberrant. It's not everybody else. Everybody else is right enough. It's the West that's a problem. The West has, well, American West, to be honest with you. It's really a US-ican phenomenon. It has decided that that's the way things will be, and everybody else just has to go along with it. And I think that's an appalling idea. The US-ica is definitely the real motherload of bad ideas, and I really don't think we should have anything to do with any of them. My concern is that HSTS are going to be the ones most affected if they're exposed, because they're hated and misunderstood. And to an extent, I have less sympathy for I don't have a lot of sympathy for the new gay man or the LGBT alphabet political movement, because they're trying to use their alternative sexuality, the ideas of alternative sexuality, to provoke political changes that I don't agree with. I have no problem with saying that. I'm not a left-winger, I'm a conservative. I'm a libertarian. I believe in free speech and in freedom of choice. And they don't. They absolutely don't. They want to suppress free speech and to suppress free choice. And as far as I'm concerned, no such society is worth tolerating, never mind fighting for. So, HSTS, if you're watching this, be careful. Stay away from LGBT+, LGBT alphabet, whatever they're calling, the new gay man, whatever they're calling themselves. If you're a young, confused person and you get to see this, please go to allaboutHSTS.com and have a look and see how you can identify if you are actually this. And if you are, do not allow yourself to be persuaded that you're some sort of gay boy. Because the fact is that the new gay man is a pederastic, cyclical abuse system. It takes young boys, it corrupts them, and when they get older, they're then expected to take their turn in corrupting younger boys. And it's a horrible thing. And you don't need to be part of it, you shouldn't be part of it. And you should not be persuaded by any head shrinker or political activist that just because you feel like a girl and you're attracted to men, that makes you a gay. It doesn't. You might well be a transsexual. And if you are, what you should do is transition. Now, transition doesn't always have to be surgical. I live in the Philippines, and I would reckon that something like, well, certainly something more than 95% of transsexuals here they still have their penises. They don't actually go for a full GRS, genital reconstruction surgery, because they don't see any need for it. Most of them have been on hormones for a very long time, and many have completely atrophied testicles, which are probably producing almost no testosterone anyway. And many more than are actually realised in the West will have had a thing called an orchiectomy, which is the surgical removal of the testes. True transsexuals, invariably, and I've spoken to so many now, and I know so many are good friends, are invariably social conservatives. They don't want to see change. They want to fit into society as it is, as the gender they see themselves as. They don't want to get rid of gender or any of the other nonsenses that are currently being promoted by LGBT+. So some of us really support you, you know, and some of us really wish you the best that could be imagined. The world is not full of your enemies, but there are some in the West who might present as friends, but they're not. They're definitely not. So be careful. Be very careful. Take care.